What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I am Alex, and I'm joined by an incredibly special guest, one that we have had on before, but it was in a different format. I'm very, very happy we're able to have him in a one-on-one kind of conversation, like we've done with other Scream creators. Ryan C. Showers, over on Twitter, who runs an incredible podcast. I mean, much in, I guess, in the way I talk, but I mean, you are an organic, like, actual podcast. Okay. Fraud. But you guys can follow him. I'm going to leave his information in the description and a comment. Go to his Twitter, follow him there, follow his podcast, listen to it. He honestly does a really incredible job. And I mean, you've talked to the directors, you've talked to a lot of different people, from the movie. So you're the real deal, man. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. This is very fun. I'm not invited to YouTube very much, so this is nice.
Yeah, we're crossing boundaries basically here. But no, we have had Ryan on before. We did a creator live stream back in the day. So Ryan, I mean, we're just gonna kind of rifle through some of the stuff. I want to talk about a leak on Sam that you can debate whether it's spoiler. I don't really think it's the most spoiler like thing, but we'll kind of warn people when we get there. But I want to we're recording this the day after the Neve drama. I made a video. I don't know when this one necessarily is going to go up, but Ryan, I need to hear your
Mhm.
updated thoughts. So what in God's name do you think? I've made a very clear where I stand. What do you think about all this?
Well, in terms of more specifically, what do you mean?
I
Are
mean,
you,
yes. Do you think she's going to be in it? Do you think this makes whether it's supposed? Obviously, I think this makes everybody kind of look bad inadvertently. I don't think they're, they're purposely trying to do this. But how do you think this frames the movie? Do you think she's going to be in it? All that, stuff.
okay? This is a very complex issue, and so you know, do I think she's going to be in the movie? No, I don't think she's going to be. I think I don't think she would have made the second statement
Yeah,
yesterday had she if she was in the movie, like, because the statement yesterday was brutal. I
it
mean,
was. It
it,
was.
it was, and the thing about it is that what, for the record, I support Nev. I support people. I support women standing up for their
Yeah.
value. Like, for instance, I kind of endured this myself. Like, I was whenever I started an internship and I was getting paid for it this summer for law school, they asked me what my salary, what I preferred. So I
Yeah.
I told them, and they came back at me and said, well, we don't really pay that much for people who just do seasonal work. And
Right.
I said, okay, and yet they kind of caved. So I mean, I people should stand up for themselves,
Yeah.
and especially if you're a woman. I get it. I was a women's studies major in college. I understand the financial and social, political, whatever
Yeah.
aspects of it. However, I'm at a point now where there was nothing new said in that statement yesterday,
Yeah.
and it's been 2 months since the drama started. And when I say drama, I mean drama within the fandom.
Yeah.
I find it to be unnecessary at this point. But
Yeah.
there's a part of me that just feels like she's by her doing interviews like this, it's just there's no good is coming out of it. She's making the
Yeah.
film look really bad. She's making all of the innocent directors, writers, producers, tech people,
Yeah.
her cast members look really bad
What?
and
Yeah.
damaging their movie.
Well,
And
that's go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
and
I'm gonna add. I'm gonna remember that in my head because I want to come back.
and I just find it so annoying because she didn't really say anything new. So she just created she just, I feel like over the past 2 months, people have started to get over it. They've started to get excited seeing Kirby again,
Yeah.
seeing Gale in the blue suit, just getting excited about the New York setting, everything. And then, she comes back. It's just like,
Yeah.
and we're back to square one.
Yeah.
Everyone is talking about boycotting. Everyone is calling the movie series sexist and hypocritical. And that really frustrates me.
Yeah.
I don't like it. And is this is it, like, and I want to be on her side here. Like, I want to believe that this was just media doing media stuff.
Yeah.
However, if she comes out in March and does like 7 interviews between March 15th and March,
Right.
30th, I'm gonna be pissed
I,
because
well, yeah.
that's
I said I think on Twitter my initial retweet was this is gonna look like I can't wait to see this be walked back if she's in the movie. Like I don't even know how you do that so I'm right there with you. I'm on her side. I don't think it's malicious in that the headlines are the way that they are. I think that's the media, because what's funny is she says all this very bad stuff, And then she says, well, basically if they just increase my price, my rate, like if they give me a raise, I'll be in it. And it's like, well, that I start to question your morals at that point, but I get it. It's Hollywood. You're dealing with millions of dollars. And I think Neve comes across as a more down to earth human being than most of Hollywood. I don't look at them as human beings in the first place, but I do look at her as that, but not most of Hollywood. So, but it's just funny because like there was one, I don't know if it was like entertainment, some stupid site, and the headline was the whole like she could come back thing. And it's like, well, that was not the headline that everybody was running with, the
Yep.
night of. It was the negative stuff. And so you're right. My question to you, because you brought up the cast, and I'm confused. Okay. Now I made a video and I talked about it specifically, but I want your intake.
Hmm.
Again, I I generally get what Neve is going at with the sexism, basically. I get it. And I think Hollywood is probably where it's like, it's kind of most focused. They talk about being so progressive and they're the worst at it.
Yeah.
But the cast is full of females. And
Hmm.
so my question simply is, do you think like Melissa, Jenna, like Jenna Ortega is a huge name. Courtney Cox, like why? No, they have like whatever gag orders because they're in the movie, but like their salary was theoretically fine. So
Yeah.
I personally believe, and I want to hear from you, my personal belief is they're simply just trying to shortchange wherever they can. I believe they're trying to cut costs, and they looked to Neve and they said, "You're going to be in the movie for 5 minutes. We're not going to give you your full rate. We're going to give you less." And her point is, if I was a man, they wouldn't do it. Debatable, but I'll give her that because I see what she's saying. But I personally believe it doesn't really matter. I think they're honestly trying to just cut money, and she was and you don't do that to somebody like her. Like I get that, but I feel like she was like an unfortunate victim because it hasn't happened for any other of the cat. You know what I mean? Does that come across right?
It does, and I just want to, like, it's a complicated, it's such a complicated issue,
Yeah,
especially with Nev, because one, let's not forget, Nev has always kind of had a chip on her shoulder about coming back to the
right.
series. Back even from the days of Scream 3, Wes begged her to do that. She did it because she thought it was the end. She didn't want to do Scream 4. She kind of probably held Scream 4 up in the process, and she didn't want to do 5 as she was, wooed by the directors with the letter. Like,
Yeah,
this is a pattern with her. But for the record, I do not believe she was in the movie a lot. I've
yeah,
been told
same.
by certain sources she wasn't, and the rumor that I have, that I can disclose, is that she was going to be 4 days, and she was going to be paid $2 million.
Right,
Um, I don't think that's bad for a
right.
film that's being filmed over 3 months.
At
Um,
that point you're towing the line of, again, like I get it, I really, but yeah, at that point you're towing the line of being a Hollywood, like select, you know what I mean? Because it's like, so you're arguing, and I can see it, I've seen people argue it. So you got your, yeah, exactly what you said, 4 days, 2 million. Well, were you asking for three? Are you bickering over $1 million when you're getting $2 million is more than you and I will ever make? You know what I mean? So there's that mentality where if you're gonna start complaining, it's a tough line you're walking of being a normal average Joe that we can relate to versus being Tom Cruise, and you know what I mean?
Well, and so here's the thing. The comparison that people lodge all the time to kind of win the argument is Tom Cruise and
Is
Top
Tom,
Gun.
yeah, yeah,
And that's so unfair
that,
because
yeah, that's weird.
I love Nev. She's had a great career. Party of Five, The Craft, Wild Things.
Yeah,
She's had a wonderful career, especially like her peak was in the 90s. She is not Tom Cruise. And
yeah,
like, first of all, Sydney was not going to be Maverick and like the way that Maverick was used in Top Gun.
right,
This was not a Sydney movie. She was a very supporting role at best. I'm
right,
not even certain that she was in the original idea for the script. Maybe this was always going to be a Sydney-less movie, and there was some discussion. Oh, we have to have her back just for the fan service. Like
right.
there has to be, there has to be some nuance here, and I don't know if like I just don't understand why this big war is being fought
Yeah,
whenever you had a small role. To begin with, like, I mean, and that's what's kind of unfortunate about it all. Like, and again, I hate that like people are basically, like kind of you asked about Jenna and Melissa and Courtney, like they don't need to answer for Nev and her
no,
salary.
yeah, right. I
And
would just like to know, like, like I want to know just out of interest, like, was Courtney lowballed at any point, and then why or why not? And like that's the only, because of the male versus female thing. That's honestly the only reason I think about it, because again, I agree generally with her viewpoint, probably of Hollywood. I do think Hollywood is the way she describes it
Mhm.
generally. In this movie, like you said, well, you don't know. Like if she was in it for 4 days, 2 million, that's bickering over small things. Why has no other female brought this up? There's like there's smaller like nuances to this that are. That's the only reason I kind of bring it where it's like Melissa Barrera was not, and she's not that big. So like,
Mhm.
was she lowballed for these movies? I don't know. Jenna Ortega probably wouldn't be because she's busy. I mean, she's the biggest one there. You know what I mean?
I mean, Courtney Cox is the biggest one there.
Court,
Let's be
yeah, yeah,
clear.
yeah.
I
I mean,
mean,
well, modern day, I think, yeah, I guess Courtney because of still the legacy. I'd put Jenna in terms of like rising star. It's
well,
not even close.
I mean, Courtney's a friend, and when you're a
Yeah,
friend, you come with you
yeah,
come with a certain price, and it's not negotiable. The thing
right.
about it is, like, and I don't like because the problem is people act as though any type of nuanced discussion about this is, oh, you're not taking Nev's side. She is the woman who wasn't paid enough, like
Yeah,
that. And whenever you shut down the conversation like that, there's no point in having a conversation if you're
yeah,
just going to attack other people for trying to talk about this, not just in your perspective.
right.
So again, I want to emphasize I am with Nev. If she felt undervalued, she had every right to walk away. Okay.
Totally.
But at the same time, I don't think it's unreasonable, for somebody who's only filming for 5% of the movie
Yeah,
to not receive, $10 million. Like, I don't think that
yeah.
I don't think anybody should receive $10 million for a 2-minute cameo or whatever she had. So I don't think she's in the
it
film.
it's one of those things where like I can see it from her perspective. If she says, "Look, I have a price. It's 4 million," right? I've brought like that number theoretically, and people, it's not. I don't know if it's the real number, but say she says, "Okay, 4 million's my." I mean, they have rates. Four
Mhm.
million's my number. Well, Nev, it's a cameo. Well, I'm not budging. I mean, I could honestly understand both sides. Like if Nev wants to
Yeah.
walk away, that's in her right. That's her rate. On
Mhm.
the other side, it's like, well, you're not being paid your normal. You're not in the movie the normal amount we would have you. So we're
Exactly.
not paying you your rate. Like
And
I could
that's the
see
thing.
it easily both sides. It's not that hard, you know?
And that's the problem. I think people have it in their mind because Sydney was the lead of the first four films. She had the most screen time. The story was about her and her backstory, her whatever's going on with her.
Yeah.
We have that in our heads. So people are probably just assuming, oh, she was a huge part of this movie and she wasn't paid what she was worth. And that's where people are getting hooked. Like that's
Yeah.
where the hang up is. They don't I because again, like I don't think, for instance, Courtney Cox, Gale wasn't really a part of the Scream 4 script to the extent that she was in the actual movie. I think the Weinsteins, she was paid $7 million for Scream 4.
Oh
I
my
think the
god.
Weinsteins looked at that and said, we are paying her a lot of money. We have got to throw in the Stabathon scene to make
Yeah.
her some return on our investment. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a complicated issue. And the thing about it is like, I wish Nev the best. I wish the film the best, but I don't think dwelling on this and going and doing an interview every
Yeah.
couple of months is going to be good for anybody. And if Nev does want to come back and she wants a $10 million paycheck for Scream 7, like she's shooting herself in the foot. She's
Yeah.
hurting.
Unless I mean, but if the movie doesn't do good, she has a, even if it's not because that's the thing too that I've
Mhm.
brought up. See, so where I'm at with Scream 6 is, and I've said it before, like I think it very easily could be better than 5. I don't even like it's pretty possible.
Yeah.
Number two, I do think the movie's going to be hurt in a lot of ways that some people aren't really talking about. Obviously, Nev, no Dewey, no David Arquette. That, I mean, those could hurt. I think Nev, I actually, you can probably say 5 million, 10 million, whatever the number is. I'm not saying 30, 40, 50. I'm saying, 5 or 10. Then you also have the movies coming out 2 weeks after Aquaman, which
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of, but 2 weeks after Aquaman, 1 week after John Wick Chapter 4, and then a week before the Mario animated movie. The movie's got competition that Scream 5 never could have dreamed of having. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't think this movie's going to make, I've been very strong on that. This movie will not make as much as 5. And then it's just, can Nev come in and say, see, that was because you didn't have me? Or
Well,
can they argue, well, it's because of you, but it's also because of 6 other, or the movie's not good, you know?
no.
I'm really, and maybe it comes across as negative, like I'm hoping for the movie to fail, and I hope it doesn't come across like that. But
Mhm.
I'm interested to see like how it all plays down because I feel like it's going to be kind of messy.
Either way, I mean, like you just summed up the future perfectly.
Yeah.
Let's just say for the worst, the worst case scenario, it doesn't do well. Let's just say, I don't think that I think it will be more successful than Scream 4. I feel like Scream 4 that is such
Yeah.
a yeah,
Do you know what 4 made? I think this movie will
38.
probably make like 120 or so, which is less than 5, but still you can greenlit 7. You know, I mean, like you
Well,
can still go forward, but you would look at it as a disappointment.
yeah, I mean, the thing about Scream 4 is like the international number was fine, but
Yeah.
it was the domestic that it made 38 million made domestic and the budget was 40.
Yeah.
That's and Scream 3 made 90 million
Yeah.
domestically. So it's just that was such a disaster. And so that's always been the fear, right? That was my fear before Scream 5 that we would have
Yeah.
another Scream 4. But the thing is I don't know. I don't want to like be facetious here, but this Scream I feel like opened up a whole new audience, and I don't think that these younger people who first of all I don't even know if most of the people who went to see Scream 5 are going to be aware that of Neve Campbell's statement here. I don't,
Absolutely not.
and they're not
Yeah.
going to care. So I think Scream 6 will still do a decent
Yeah.
job, but you're right. Let's just say if it does underperform 5 significantly. Let's just say Scream 5 made 81 million domestic, okay? If Scream 6 comes in and only makes 60 million,
Right.
Scream 7 will still probably go ahead.
Right.
But to your point, Nev will say, "See, it's because of me that I wasn't in it, so your movie failed." And the
Yeah.
studio will come back and say, "No, actually, your PR campaign against us."
Yeah.
So
And John Wick came out the week before, and that movie's fantastic. And like those kind of yeah,
yeah.
it's a tough situation. I think she would win it. I feel like they would cave after that, to be honest with you, because I think just movie studios are very short sighted, and they would look at
Yeah.
it like, oh yeah, you could have caused that.
Well, I mean, they did make. I think that regardless of, I think the studio was wrong in the way that they just shut the door on her. I think that, or I think Nev was failed in this situation, whether it was her agents, her representation, the
Yeah.
studio, somewhere along the line, she was failed by somebody, and
Right.
therefore we all were failed by somebody, and I think
Yeah.
that's a problem, and the movie is hurting because of it. And I understand Nev's position. I just I think that she said her piece, and I think that anything that goes beyond what she's already said, unless if there's something new that comes
Yeah.
up. Unless if she comes out and says, well, I got a follow-up phone call and then they begged me and then I said no
They
to
wrote me
this. Like,
another letter, if you can believe it.
like I don't think that I don't think it's productive to continue to dwell on this because
Yeah,
all
that's
we're
fair.
doing is just ensuring that Scream 7 will never be made and Neve Campbell will never be able to buy her son the pool that she wants that money for, you know?
No, I'm with you, man. It's a tough situation all the way around. But like you said, like there like the wording was different yesterday, but it was the same stuff, and it's still running with the negative. And then
Hmm.
again, I my final piece on this. I'm firmly on Team Nev. The one thing I really didn't like is in that interview where she says, I believe, if I'm correct, the girl interviewing her said, "Okay, well, is the door closed permanently, or
Hmm.
if they came back to you with an apology and a pay raise, would you take it?" And I'm 99.9. Nev talked about the money. Nev didn't even respond with an apology. The girl
Yeah.
asking said apology and money, and Nev said if they raise the money, I'd think about it. And it's like that is not a good answer because that comes across as you don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but so and and I mean I forget to say words. That doesn't mean I mean it. You know what I mean? But it's like
Hmm.
that is not a good way of answering the question because you're literally saying if they raise it by $50,000, $100,000, water under the bridge, but they hurt you. It sounds like they really hurt you. So where are your standards? I'm asking. I'm not like
Hmm.
question. You know what I mean? It's like where are your standards in all of this? And that's the first time I've really thought that with her. Whereas before, it's like I stand with you. I still stand by her, but I don't love that answer.
Yeah. Other thing is at the end of the day, uh, at the end of the day, it is the cynical answer. We look at Nev and we see the girl next door. We see Sydney Prescott, the girl that we love,
Yeah.
but she's just another human being trying to hustle her way through
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I don't know if it's about an apology. I think it's just she wants. I feel like maybe she feels like Scream is really the only lasting financial
Right.
resource in her resume at this point because Party of Five has been over for years. Wild Things was, the peak of Nev's success was in the 90s. So, like,
Yeah.
I think that's the other component people forget. Like Jennifer Lawrence, she took 5 years off, to have a baby and have time to herself. And she comes back to do the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, and she accepted a rate like 5 million lower than Leo and she said that's okay. I took time off. Like my career
Right.
isn't what it was, but when I 5 years ago, I think
Right.
we need to analyze that component of it too. Like
Yeah.
Nev is really important, but she isn't The Rock.
Yeah.
I mean, she's and like Courtney Cox is somebody who Friends is such a iconic thing, legendary thing. It didn't,
Right.
so I think that people just need to be a bit more patient and a bit more realistic and
Yeah.
frankly cynical because again, she isn't the girl next door. She is Neve
Yeah.
Campbell, somebody who none of us actually really know. She's, if she's doing this for the money, I think we should let her and, not just assume that everything
And,
is.
and again, and like if I'm playing with millions of dollars, I drop a lot of standards too. You know, I mean, I don't care about an apology. If you raise it by a million, you don't need to necessarily say you're. It's even like a Johnny Depp thing. Like if Disney offers him double his price, who cares about the apology? He may think
Yeah.
that. Who cares about the apology? I just got 40 million. You know what I mean? You do question standards, but it's like you just kind of have to accept it. That's how Hollywood is a gutless or heartless. I guess it's full of guts. It's a heartless place. All right. Now I want to talk about the Sam thing. So now is everybody's time to peace out if they don't want to hear it. Again, I really don't think it's all that much into spoilers, but I'm going to read out clips, Comprehend's tweet, and then Ryan and I will talk about it. So Sam doesn't have the visions anymore. She's on different medication, which is made clear in a couple scenes, and you will like the pharmacist cameo. The medication does come with a side effect, but it doesn't involve hallucinations or visions. Somebody also said blackouts, and Clips Comprehend said like you're close. So I'll kind of open it up, Ryan. Do you like that she's not doing the visions? What do you think the new side effect is? Go from there, I guess.
I am convinced that the pharmacist is going to be Billy Loomis or Mrs. or Debbie Salt or somebody. I think that like I don't know. I don't know. I'm open minded. I didn't
Yeah.
mind the visions in Scream 5. I liked the way that it was used. I mean, I am I liked the way that like Sydney kind of saw Maureen in Scream 3. So I was kind of partial to what they were doing anyways.
Yeah.
Um, I'm open to it. I'm glad that they're keeping it fresh no matter what because Sam is such a controversial
Yeah.
character. So why not just mix up the formula? So
Right.
that's where I
Now, like when they say blackouts and the Clips Comprehend says close, I mean, to me, and this is all, by the way, like rumors, speculation. These are just fun to talk about. To me, doesn't that kind of open the door up? It opens, I guess to me, it opens it just a crack. Like, could she kill people and not know she's doing it? Like, can she be like Moon Knight? Is that what the medication, you know what I mean? Where she blacks out and she did something during that time she can't remember. That's different. And again, much like I've said, like, when you make these risks, I'm not saying they're going to be good. I'm just saying
Mhm,
I'll give them respect for trying new things. If they did that with Sam, I don't know if that would work. It maybe won't, but I
mhm.
respect them for trying it.
I agree with you, and I think maybe that's what he's getting at. Maybe, and first of all, I'm not even. I know this is controversial, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I don't necessarily. Whoever Clips is, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not.
You're not on the bandwagon?
I'm not. I was
That's
open
fair. Well,
minded.
because
Before.
Clips is very much on the Nev thing. So if Nev is not in the movie, then a
Mm.
lot of this stuff gets thrown out. To me, gets thrown right out the window.
Like, so do you know about the guy, the stalker guy,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
yeah, so he it could easily be somebody like him, like
True.
just tweeting out nonsense and BS.
Yeah.
And so I kind of, I'm very skeptical, and that's kind of exciting because this all everything we know as spoilers could not, it could be
True.
false, so we could just be going into this very blind. um
Yeah.
but if they are changing up her medication in this way, I think that could be an interesting way to make Sam a real suspect, because I think that even though Scream 5 kind of, that was
I think
Rich's
the
intent.
marketing wanted you to believe it could be Sam, and once the movie started, then it's not
No,
Sam. You know what I
it,
mean? Yeah.
no, she was never a real suspect.
Right.
But if they do it like that here, I think that it could be done nicely.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. And when it comes to these rumors and stuff, you're right. I cover a lot of like gaming things, and what I think I've only recently found out is like a lot of these leakers behind the scenes just kind of talk to each other and they'll like bounce the, you know what I mean? So you're right. Like it could just come from somebody that generally they all think is going to happen, but it's all this one leak that spreads out to like 5 different leakers. You know what I mean? It's that kind of spread out thing. And you find that, I guess, as you get more into it. So, like I said, it's fun to discuss, but at
Hmm.
the end of the day, I'm with you. Like if none of this stuff happens, or again, if Neve is not in the movie, none of this stuff, I don't like the accuracy rating. You know, if you get one gigantic thing wrong, I feel like you're going to get more wrong. With that being said, I would like, but the thing is, so the rumors with like Skeet is he's not in the movie. So she can't have visions because you can't get the guy, the actor to do it. So it would make sense. It would make sense, to change it up and have her do something else.
Hmm.
What do you think? Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, go
I
ahead.
was gonna say
Your question.
Sam is a divisive character in general. You and
Yes.
me actually are not on this.
No, we aren't.
I'm mid tier with her. I think you're a lot higher. Like Beyond the Mask, I think is
Hmm.
higher. I'm very much in the middle. She was a middling character. She was good at the very end. I really liked her like the last 30 minutes. What do you think? Like, sell me like what can they do in 6? You think to kind of improve her for you, for people that hated her, for people in the middle? What do you think they could do to her character?
Well, so I really like Sam. I really empathized with her as a character. I thought that I really liked Melissa. I think Melissa is a superstar. I think she's charismatic. I think she's a wonderful actress. And I do love a lot of what they did with Sam. And like, the idea of, Sam being afraid she's going to become her father, like
Yeah.
Sydney was with her mother, it's perfect.
Yeah.
And I love how much of a badass that she became. And I think as long as if they lean into that badassness at the end, I think that will improve upon all of her critics. And
Yeah.
I think if they, just find maybe they didn't write Sam for Melissa, right? So maybe if the writers just
Yeah.
write to her strengths, that will help, help her as a performer. And with Sam, I also think being self-referential and kind of, being aware that Sam is divisive, I think that would be a very
Yeah.
wise thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, when it comes to the thing that got me on her, and again, like this is not an attack. I mean, I just said her, but this is not an attack on Melissa. I don't know her as a person. Again, like what we were saying earlier, I don't know her. The thing that got me, I guess, was even in the interviews, like she flat out admitted, well, like you said, number one, it was not the role was not for her. Number two, if you remember, I believe they just gave her it after I think she did one audition, and she felt she did awful in it. So she thought she bombed it, and then she still gets it, and it's like, man, that immediately is like, well, maybe you're again, maybe you're fine as an actress, but maybe it's not for you. But they gave it whatever the behind the scenes, maybe they wanted you because of whatever the reason, and they just gave it to you like on a whim. So, but I'm with you. I mean, I like that. I like the father thing. I love her at the end. I mean, the last once Sydney and Gale arrive to the house, that last scene or sequence, even though it's kind of messy with people's opinions on like motives and other things, Sam is killer
Hmm.
literally, but she really is like one of the best parts of that last 25 minutes. So I will give her full credit there. Well, I think, and to your point, leaning into that more edgy, do you think we have like the one picture of her like definitively when she's walking with Tara away from Gale? She looks like, punk rock kind of like edgy. So you think that's to me that's probably a sign they are doing that, what you said.
Oh yeah, like there is definitely a difference in Sam, even just like with the look
Yeah.
from 5 to 6. I love the look. I think she
Yeah.
looks
Yeah, I think she
awesome.
looks cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So
I'm with you. Go ahead.
so one thing that like one of the rumor actually it's not a rumor because Melissa confirmed it herself. Gail and Sam apparently have a
Yeah.
big arc together.
Yeah.
That is what I'm most looking forward to because Sam was my favorite character of the new cast and Gail was my favorite of the Legacy in Scream 5. And I think putting those and especially Gail has such a story to tell here
Yeah.
post duty having the Ghostface reemerge. I'm sure Gail is just throwing herself into work and avoiding her feelings. I think this could be such a really amazing opportunity for her. I think putting those two characters together and creating some magic, I think that's what I'm most excited for, and I think
Yeah.
it's going to really be a strength of the film.
Well,
So
she's edgy. That kind of lines up with Gale, and they're almost like
yeah.
duo. You know what I mean? In that way. So I really I think that's gonna work. And even the reported line that like Tara tells Gale in this, it's like, man, these people are savage. And in this movie, like they're not afraid of like hurting each other's opinions. There's a rumor that Sam and Tara get a call from Ghostface like together. I've said it before. I mean, I'm not like giving up. I've never once given up on Sam as a character because I think there's something there. This is her defiant to me for someone who was not high or low on her, someone in the middle. This is her movie that if
Mhm.
they do the same thing and I come out of this movie thinking just okay again, it's over for me. You know what I mean? In terms of trusting that they can nail the landing with that character. So I really hope, and I mean, you can make her Ghostface. You could still have her obviously survive, but just you need to do something a little bit different with her and lean in. This brings me to my last thing I definitely want to talk to you because that actually segues. An issue I'm worried about with 6
Mhm.
is, or screw whatever you want to call it, is the amount of cast, which was
Yeah.
a very similar problem we had in 5, where a reason I didn't love Sam is because we didn't really get. I mean, Sam was a pretty prominent character, but people like Chad, who wasn't actually in the movie, like a lot of these characters were in it for 5 minutes. What do you think of the cast that's actually more people now in
Mhm.
6 than 5? Do you worry about it? Do you think higher body count is, and that's why? Like, what do you think about that?
The thing about the cast with 6 that I'm not worried about, but just kind of curious about is there are 6 survivors in this fucking movie.
Yeah, that's a
That
lot.
is, and because like we have that history with them and they're returning, I think they're just automatically going to get more to do than the new cast. So I think this, if anything, this will be more of like a Scream 3 or Scream 4 situation where we
Yeah,
really invest in the main characters, the survivors, maybe one or two others, but then the rest of the cast is kind of flat or boring or not as important. I think
yeah,
this is honestly, I think this is just going to be a story about survivors. I think it's going to be the killer, coming after Kirby first and then going through the people who survived last
yeah,
time. And
yeah.
that's what I think the story is going to be about. And I don't think that everybody else is going to matter as much.
Right.
Um, if anything, they'll just be suspects or body counts.
Yeah.
But I hope that they, like, for instance, I think Dermot will have. I think his character is going to be very substantial. I
Yeah.
think the Twinkie guy, who's the young skinny guy, who's
Oh
the
man, I forget his name. I know who you're talking. Yeah, he's
hope.
rumored him and Tara something is gonna, with them.
I think those two are going to have the biggest impact. So that
Okay.
that I have no, I
What
have no.
about Samara? What do you think? Quick.
The thing about Samara, like I think she's an amazing. I loved her performance in Ready or Not. I would have given
Same.
her an Oscar nomination for it. So amazing. So they obviously work well with her, and that's kind of the key. Even like when I had them on my show, they just lit up when I talked about her. Whenever they talked about her. I just don't think that they would waste her on something on an insignificant role. Like some people have suggested Sam and Stab, which would be funny, but I don't think that they would
That's where
waste
I'm
her.
at. I'm with you. I'm with you. Do you think insignificant is an interesting word though? Because I do agree. I actually made a video on that. The Stab thing, I don't like it for that reason. You're gonna have her playing on the back. Do you know? Because like the very rarely in these movies do you actually focus on the Stab film, right? Most of the time it's Stab playing and then there's things happening like so Samara would be in like the backdrop. I feel like it's got to be a real character, which either means Ghostface, which I think is still unlikely, or a CC Sarah Michelle Gellar character, which is what I think.
Well, I don't know if nobody would remember this except for me because I'm just so obsessed with this. But Tyler on whenever in my conversation with him said that
Yeah.
CC was his favorite phone call of the series.
Oh
So
no.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is some,
Yeah.
if that's who she ends up being because the CC Sarah Darling mold, you basically film by yourself. You don't know when you're filming, and it's
Right.
nobody really knows about you. So I think that's probably her best shot. I would love for her to be a carryover character and then be the killer in
Yeah.
7. That would be, I think, really very unique and very worthy of her, where we get 2 movies out of her and
Yeah.
she gets to be Ghostface. I think that would
Yeah.
be cool, but she's probably Cece. That's what I'm gonna
That's
guess.
I've never thought of that where it's like you can have her as a Debbie Salt, but then don't even do any leave her and for the next I like that idea a lot. And again, like you said, like that's different. That is
Mhm.
just factually different than what we've ever had in the past. Is there any other I'm trying to think of like some of the headline things that have come out with Scream. Is there any other final thoughts on worries, excitement, what we've seen so far?
I have two things I'd like to say.
Go
So
ahead. The floor is yours.
one, thank you. I want Gale to be center stage here. I mean, I know she won't be. I know that Sam will
Yeah.
be the lead, and she'll probably Gale will either be 2 or 3 behind Sam. She'll either be ahead of Tara or behind Tara. And I really want this to be without Neve around. I think this is such an opportunity to really showcase Courtney Cox, who is equal to Neve in my opinion, and what in the value they bring to the franchise. And I love Gale Weathers so much. She's such a complex character. Not to quote Jennifer, wow, I just came out. But I think I don't want Gale to just have. I want her to have like the size of role she had in Scream 2 and 3, not
Yeah.
what she had in 1 and 5. I want her to be really important. And
Right.
my fear is, that she isn't going to. But
Yeah.
so that's the one thing. But the second thing is I am not really a Kirby stan. I of course liked her in Scream 4. I thought,
Yeah.
she's one of the best characters and performances in Scream 4. But I have to say, since Hayden has been announced and we've seen the trickling in of information and pictures,
Yeah.
I have been so excited about this. Like, and I even rewatched Scream 4 and Scream 5 kind of like after, like in May, after the dust settled with 5, so I could
Yeah.
watch it objectively. And she kind of blows, like, Hayden blew all of the actors, like all the new young actors, out
Yeah.
of the water. Like, her acting and her presence just is on a different level from everybody else. Uh,
Yep.
and I think that there is such an opportunity there for Hayden, for Kirby. I'm so excited that whatever they're going to do with her, I think that she has just brought so much life to the franchise and to when at such a dark moment with Nev, because Courtney, the sisters, the twins, because they were in 5, it's kind of like we're kind of
Yeah.
used to them now. But Kirby, we haven't seen in 12 years,
Yeah.
so it's so cool. So if there was one thing that could counteract Nev and like the depression everybody has about her not being in this, it's
Right.
Hayden, and I think it was working for a long time.
No,
So yes,
I'm with you. You know, I really like her, and I've always liked her since I saw 4. And yeah, I guess when they announced her, there's such an excitement for me, and then it died down, and it's like she's in it, cool, but I don't really think about it. But I'm with you. Like once you see the pictures and she's there and stuff, it's like there's like this feeling that again, like you said, you don't have for any of the other characters. Like this is something special to see her come back. But I'm with you. I would go so far. I don't know if you were saying it, but I'll go so far to say it. In terms of talent and her character, now you got to remember too, she was young and she still is young. She's 1 year older than Melissa Barrera, which I always like to bring up because they're so close in age, but not in movie age. Hey, Kirby would be older. But I mean, when she made this film, she would have been younger than Chad, Mindy, all that. I think she blows all of them. Like in
yeah.
5, even I would say 5, except for Tara. I have a really soft spot for Jenna Ortega's. She's my favorite character in general in 5. So yeah, I'm excited what they do with. I don't want her to die. That's my only.
Yeah.
That's my only thing.
Well,
I'm with you with Gale too. By the way, it's just Gale's tough because they could easily just replicate 2, and then she would have a pretty substantial role if they're just trying to copy and paste. But then they have so many characters. For me, it always goes back to that how they handle. And I've said it before, like Chad, you could kill Chad tomorrow and I would not care because he's in it for 5. So you have to make me care. And I don't know if you can make me care if you have 14 other characters. That's how I approach it. They have to drop them quickly, these other characters, and you need to give me Chad and Mindy. Sam
mhm.
needs to be elevated. Tara needs to keep doing what she's doing. Otherwise, if you think killing Chad is a bold move, I got news for you. It's not. Like, and I've been very strong on that.
Well, I love that. So clearly, your audience, I mean, my audience is I would say probably like 60% gay men, and I can guarantee you, every single one of the 60% I would care if Chad dies. But
Oh
um,
man.
I'm just joking. No, so the thing is, and here's the thing, because there are 6 survivors,
Yeah.
I there
You have to kill one, right? Out of
I
this.
think you have to kill at least half of them, and that's
Ooh,
scary.
I think
Because
2. I've always said 2 out of the 6.
so who is the 2 out of the 6?
Chad and Sam would be bold, or Chad and Kirby. I think Chad, no matter what, honestly, will go. So I don't think you can kill Mindy because you're just doing Randy. That's too late. Honestly, that'd be lazy in my opinion.
I think it
Or
is going to be Mindy. I
you
think
think Mindy?
for the reason
Man,
of Randy. They're going to do I wouldn't even be surprised if the scene we saw them filming this past
yeah,
week
that
is
scene scared me to be honest with you. Yeah. But
that's
I
if
just don't want it to repeat. That's my main thing with it. Is please, and I know our thought, and that's fine. I mean, that's actually a good thing that you and I can have these conversations is I don't
Mhm.
think we see eye to eye on this either. Like I don't really love the title because I
I hate
like
it.
the creativity, but it's Scream 2 again. So and at this point, if 5 is 1 and
Mhm.
6 is really 2, did you need to make these 3 films ultimately? The answer I would honestly say is no, to
No,
be honest. Like I really don't think so.
I do want to clarify. I don't want it to be. I hate the title. I think that they
Okay,
should
well
be doing
good.
something very different. This is their opportunity
Yeah.
to show everybody that their creativity and what they can do differently. That's not just honoring Wes Craven, because in a
Right.
way, Scream 5 they did play it rather safe, but despite killing Dewey of it all,
Right.
they really just took a lot of the what worked about Scream the first four and just leaned into it and
Yeah.
appealed to everybody. I think that they should do bold moves and do different things, and I think it should have been called Screams or something,
Yeah.
Scream hyphen something. This is a disaster. Like if it's
Yeah.
called Scream exclamation point, it's we already have a PR disaster with Nev. Do we really want to add to the PR disaster with a
That's
horrible
where I'm at,
title?
man. Yeah, I'm with you, and I don't even think the idea of 5. This is really almost the star. I hate always saying it's the Star Wars thing. 7 played it close to 4, and it's the same thing for Scream. Like 5 playing it close to 1 is not inherently a bad thing. In fact, it's
No.
probably the smart move, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to alienate half the, which is exactly what Star Wars did. You don't want Ryan Johnson to go first because then you know what I mean? Like that's not going to work. So you have a safe movie that's still exciting and honestly is one of the better ones. And that's what we got. You know what I mean? 5
Hmm.
fits right in with the other Scream movies. It's not everybody's favorite, but it's not like the whatever Black and Sheep. So you have that. But now you go into 6, like you need to stop copying because if
Well,
you don't, you've made 2 movies that are replicas, and then I don't care what you do for 7, even if you say, well, we're not going to do 3 for 7. Well, 2 of the 3 have been copycats. I don't really think you needed to make any of these films to be. That's where I'm at. You need, so killing Mindy, even if they kill Mindy not in a Randy way, that would signal to me something's wrong because they're just copying Randy. I I like the impact of killing Mindy because I think it's more powerful than killing
mhm.
Shad, but I would just be worried about the copycat stuff.
And I think that if they do kill Mindy, it will be for the impact, because you get people where it will hurt them.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, I agree with basically everything you said.
Oh, good.
But my thing is, I know these, like, men, not men, but like that demographic of like older people of that generation, like the
Yeah.
maybe like 40-year-old, like,
Yeah.
guy who like has the nostalgia for Scream 2 and loves Scream 2, has a
Yeah.
really special soft spot for Scream 2. I think basically all the talent involved here fit that mold,
Yeah.
and I think that we're going to see a lot of Scream 2 parallels. And I don't want them to copy Scream 2 beat by beat, but I'm
Right.
just afraid that if they're going to line themselves up with 2 more than you or I would like them to. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping that within that they can do, like, they can create contrast with 2, where if
Well,
for instance, Sam, let's just say, Sydney didn't save Derek, maybe this time Sam saves whoever her love
right.
interest is or something like that. Like, I would be okay with that, but I do want some different things.
Well,
So.
this is controversial, but this is where we'll end it on because I like to end on controversy. So another way of looking at it too is like, in all honesty, I love Scream 2. Okay, I
Mhm.
think Scream 1 is the best, but I love Scream 2. Copying 1 makes sense from a reboot, but when you start to copy, even if you're like making a lot, I guess like having Easter eggs and stuff is fine. But if you're gonna like you really use it, but you're not going to kill her the exact same way as Randy. We're going to do it slightly different, but they're kind of going beat for beat. Why would you need to copy 2 and specifically 3? Now I know you love, like, that's the thing with you, but here's
Mhm.
the deal, Ryan. Okay, I'm gonna
Yeah.
3 is not universally loved.
I
Like
know.
3 has
Yeah.
a lot of problems to a lot of people. So I guess my question is kind of removed from that. Why would you want to copy 2 and 3? Those aren't even, you know what I mean, in the
Mhm.
larger zeitgeist, those aren't even the best ones. One
They
is.
should. I mean, they should, again, like, there's no reason to copy anything at this point, and
Yeah.
that's one thing that 4 and 5 kind of detract from me, is like, I just feel like people are so obsessed with the original, and like the idea of Woodsboro and Casey and Steve. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
billion Stu, I'm over it. Like, give me a new story. And that's why 2 and 3 are actually my favorite films of the franchise. I mean,
That's
the
fair.
original trilogy
That's
is,
fair.
but
Yeah.
it's because they're so different. They take place in a different setting, and they tell different stories, and like that's what I want. I don't want a repeat of. I just don't,
Yeah, no, that's
just make
very that's a good answer. Honest, I get that. I think he's like 4 almost plays with that, which I give that more respect. 5 literally is just one again with like some slight variation. But again, I understand that. I would never hold them too hard to that one just because of again the start. You can't start by splitting the fandom.
Yep.
I mean, you don't want to start like that. That's the issue I have with like Sam. You don't want a lead to start by splitting people either. You would ideally
Yeah.
want, you know what I mean? Like whether or
That's
not
a good
people
point.
like her, you ideally want Sydney in
Hmm.
one, leave like going into 2. That's how you want people to look at Sam, and that's not how it is. So you've already not set it up perfectly, but I mean, you have Jenna and Tara's a really great. Like it's different, but that's the thing to me. Like when it comes to 3, and then if you were to copy it for 7, it's like I just don't think there's a
What's the
need. The
point?
film is
Yeah.
flawed. Not everybody loves. Some people hate it. So it's like, why would you even think to copy it? You know, from their mindset. Because you and me, I
And
don't think would ever do it.
I don't think that they. I don't think that they will. I think that I think that we'll get homages, but I
Yeah,
think that they. I think they see this as an opportunity to be themselves. They had the financial success. Before the Nev problem, there was nothing standing in their way.
yeah,
So, but I do want to ask you. So, who
yeah.
do you think Gail survives, or do you think she dies
Yeah.
here?
If she dies, I riot. so,
Well, I mean, I
so
do too. I'll be heartbroken, but like,
yeah.
I,
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 I
I
think she'll. I just that is a bold decision that I would not give respect. That is 1,000% Star Wars. You've killed
mhm.
Dewey. You've killed Gale. So like you can't kill Nev because she won't come back, right? If Sydney ever dies, she said that, which I love. That I really respect the heck out of her for just declaring that. But yeah, if they killed Gale, that's Star Wars, and I
Mhm.
would want nothing more than to copy the sequel Disney trilogy.
I don't want Gale to die. Like I will. I'm so emotionally opposed to it.
Yeah,
I was good with Dewey dying. It made sense. Like even if I was writing Scream 5, that is the thing that makes sense to bring both Sydney and Gale into the story and make them
yeah.
important and move the story forward. Um, with Gale, you're just kind of dividing people just to divide them, and just like
It's just shock. You're just doing it for shock. That's
yeah,
it.
and
This character you've always thought is untouchable. And again that comes off very bad, and you have to walk a tightrope with that. This character you've always thought they're safe. It was safe with Wes. We're coming in. It's our rules. Same thing with
mhm,
Star Wars, right? Luke was safe until Ryan
Ryan
Johnson got his
Johnson.
hand, and then nobody's safe with me. And that could work. I mean, it could potentially work, but it could also completely collapse, and that's what happened.
Yeah. So I'm opposed to it, and I don't think it should happen. And unless if Courtney Cox says, "Look, I've done 6 movies, I've done my time,
Right. If she
I'm
wants
ready to
out
hang up."
and we know that it would have to be again, she has to say it. Like it needs to be like not a press release, but it needs to be like in an interview. Like I want it out in a good way. I didn't want,
Hmm.
I asked them to kill me politely and they did it. Then it's okay. But yeah, if they do it on their own, even the David Arquette thing to some is borderline because like he doesn't know he's reading it. They have to like call him afterwards. Like it's a little iffy on how they handled that. If they did it twice, then it's like, well, I'm not giving you benefits of the doubt, anymore after that.
Well, and I just want to clarify that too. Like, I don't think that
No,
there's
I
any
don't, and
bad
they're not the I
intentions
don't think they're
there.
the main problem. They're not the main problem with Nev. They could be the main problem creatively. We'll see. We'll see what happens in 6. But I think they're good guys, and I mean, you would know more than that than me. But I think they're good people.
And they are, and I think that the thing about David Arquette, I disagree with kind of the controversy with that. Like because who knows? We don't know exactly. It's the same thing with Nev. We are reading into the
Yeah,
details here. It's kind of vague. I think we should just I think look at the script, and like, if Gale does die and they do it in a way that feels urgent and necessary for the plot and something that's earned from a character perspective, you have
yeah,
my thumbs up, because that's what happened with Dewey. He
sure,
had this arc about being a coward, and he was able to fulfill that, and his death set a domino effect with Gale and
right.
Sydney. That's how you do it, and I just don't want it. If Gale isn't done like that, if she does die, I'll be very disappointed. But I don't think that they will. I
Well,
don't know. I don't know. I know these guys. I trust them. I think that they're going to make a fantastic movie. I think 6 could be the best movie for me since 3, and
nice.
I think I'm excited. So
Well, it's good to see optimism. I have optimism too. It's buried, but I have no. I'm really looking forward to it. I think there's hurdles, and like I said, the release schedule of the month of the movies that come out before and after that really worries me more than anything else because five did not have that at
Yep.
all. You're
And that's
gonna
why it
have
was so
choices.
successful.
Yeah.
Like, I really think the reason 5 was so I feel like it was the perfect storm. I think the marketing was good. I think, everybody was excited for it, but also it came out at a time where there was no competition. Like everything else really there was no other movie
Yeah.
released with it. And
It
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 kind
was
of
number one for 2 or 3 weeks, and then a movie came out. I think it went to two, and then it went back to. I think Spider-Man maybe beat it in week two, and then it went back up to one. Like it just didn't have competition. Whereas this one, it may win its week, but I honestly
yeah.
don't know because Aquaman. Now I hate it because of Amber Heard, but Aquaman. I don't know how it does on week three. John Wick. I mean that those movies continue to gain popularity. That movie
Mhm.
could very easily make the same as Scream in its week two and
Yeah.
Scream's week one. It could Scream may not open number one, and
Which
then
is
week
really scary
it's
to
scary,
think
and then the
about.
next week now like Chris Pratt as Mario. I mean, you can make all the memes you want, but it's a Mario animated movie. It's gonna sell. I don't
Yeah.
care how good it is. It's gonna sell. In fact, I'll see it. So even the week after Scream, word of mouth needs to be good because you have options, and you did not have options when Critical Overlord sees it 15 times, which I respect. You don't have time for that this time. You have five other movies to watch. You know what I mean?
Mhm. No, and it will and that is concerning, but I'm hopeful that
Well, it's
that
horror too. Like I always discredit or discount. Like it's horror, and horror
yeah.
kind of is that genre that people specifically see those movies. They don't
Mhm.
care if there's an action adventure or and you know what I mean. Like it does live on its own, but it needs solid weeks. It 1 week is not good enough. It needs
Yeah.
to carry on, and you'll have other competition for week two, three. Except and that's if the movie's good. If the movie's okay, word of mouth, I don't think is gonna work this time
No.
around.
Yeah, I agree. And I think they just have to be very smart about it. And I hope that everything works out because I think that it will be fine because the Black Phone never was number one and it's made
Yeah,
more money than Scream. So, it'll be okay. So,
there we go.
I think it'll be I'm optimistic that everything will work out. My guess is it'll make 70 million US.
Yeah,
So
that's
right now.
solid. That's
Yeah.
definitely solid. So let us know. This was a great talk. This legitimately was a podcast. So I'm very happy to live up to my own name. But let us know what you think in the comments. Obviously, make sure you guys again go support Ryan. All his stuff is going to be in the description. Watch his podcast or listen to however you want to do it. You can technically watch the screen, but support the guy. He does an incredible. I truly mean that. And he's that again that jump across. I mean, we have a lot of YouTube creators here, but Ryan kills it on Twitter on just podcasting in general. So Ryan, thank you again so much, buddy, for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for promoting my show and giving me the wonderful compliment. I really appreciate it. I will definitely have you on my show in the
Thank
coming weeks. So we'll figure out
yeah
we'll figure out a time. So thank you so
yeah.
much. And it's Scream with Ryan C. Showers. Find it on all platforms. I have Patreon. I have a thriving setup here. So
It's a business too.
yeah,
That's
it
what you're
is.
about to say, but no, it's everything. Ryan does I truly mean that. Ryan does a phenomenal job. So we'll have him back on for sure. We got months to go. I'm sure more drama will hit. Thank you for watching, guys, and we'll see you all on the next one.